What is up, everybody? This is Lyle. Some of you guys know that I'm about to get into trucking. I also have another YouTube channel by the name of No Hippie Barbecue and Cooking. Leave a link to that channel in the iCard above, description below. Run by there if you're into some good cooking. Now, this video I want to talk about is lessons that can be learned from this government shutdown. Now, some of you guys know that in my current job, I am a mortgage banker for the last 20 years or so, and I have a chance to look at a lot of people's finances, all the way from people that own multi-million-dollar companies to a guy that works at Burger King as his primary job. So I have a good sense of what a lot of America makes, and by looking at people's finances, I have the opportunity of seeing what a lot of people are doing wrong. Now, the one thing that this government shutdown should teach us is it's time to tighten up your belts. You know, I think we're a month into this shutdown, but even 2 weeks into this, people were having financial hardships. Now, some of those situations were unique, but some of these situations were not all that unique. They're just people that were living not necessarily beyond their means, but, let's just call it what it is. They were living beyond their means. Not beyond their means that they couldn't manage their household with the income that was coming in, but if anything happened that was beyond their control, they were just going to be in a bad situation. And I think a lot of that has to do with federal employees feeling like they have their federal pensions or retirement or whatever to fall back on, which a lot of us don't. So they may not have to set aside as much money. So really, the fact that they're federal employees has nothing to do with this. It's just any group of people that within 2 weeks or a month of them not getting paid running into issues. Now, if you're going to say there's, certain people that don't get paid for 2 weeks or a month, then they have financial hardships, that's one thing. But one thing I do know from doing loans for, I can't be too specific in this, but federal employees, is that a lot of these federal employees are making upwards of over $100,000 a year, and money should not be the issue within 2 weeks to a month of not getting paid. So one thing I do know from being a mortgage banker, and you know what, in my next video after this, I'm going to pull two loan applications from two different styles of people, and we're going to kind of go over those so you can understand that, one thing I hear in trucking is everybody's always saying how much money they made and all this kind of stuff. And one thing I'm going to tell you, how much money you make has very little to do with how much net worth you have. And what I mean by that is a lot of these people that are making, 85, 100,000, whatever plus a year, the debts that they're incurring, whether it be student loans, car payments, going out to lunch every day, the car is one of the biggest ones, overbuying on their current home. A lot of these things have to do with why people have problems not being paid, 2 weeks or a month in. I've been preaching this for a while, and one of the main reasons I'm wanting to do this video is if I could just change one person to change their, thought process from, getting paid and having to run out and spend it to somebody that's getting paid and actually setting that money aside for a strategy, whether that be, property investments, stock investments, or just holding on to the money, that's really all that I want. Because in my industry, I deal with a lot of people that are making, let's just take an average family here in Colorado that, may make $100,000 between two working adults, and they're struggling, and a lot of it is you know, you have two $500 a month car payments or something like that. I look at their bank statements, both of them are going out to eat for lunch every day, spending upwards of $15-20 each on top of the Starbucks in the morning. And, you know, they're keeping their head above water, but if anything goes wrong, they're having a problem. And how this relates into trucking, and I keep seeing this, there's, truckers that are able to handle, what money they're making now and be able to keep their head above water, but they're spending money on stuff that I just, when I get into this business, one thing I can guarantee you is I'm not going to be buying a truck out of vanity. I'm not going to buy a truck because I think I'm going to look cool. That's one mistake I think I keep seeing being made. And from talking to one of my friends that's been a trucker for over 20 years, he says that as well. Not going to be spending a bunch of money in truck stops, going and just spending money on random food, except for the first period of time when I get into trucking. That may be something that I have to do because I'm going to be relying on somebody else. But I'm going to be keeping my finances extremely tight, and that's not just because I'd be going into trucking. I mean, it could be whatever industry that I go into, that I'm going to be running things pretty tight. I'm in an industry where the upswings and downswings can be pretty big. A whole lot more than, what it could be in trucking as far as the low end and on the high end. And, there have been times when I've made as much in a month that a lot of people have only made in a year. And in retrospect, I've gone 3 months without getting paid. So I've had to budget my life like that. So, really just what I want everybody to do is to go from trying to spend money like it's a recreation to setting some money aside. And that's going to allow you to be a little bit more, you're going to be able to take more chances with the things that you want to do, whether it's buying your own truck. It's easier to take a flyer on a truck that you think might be good at $25,000 or $30,000 if you have a bunch of money in the bank in case that truck goes wrong, as opposed to having to buy something that maybe a $75,000, $80,000 truck that you're going to assume there's not going to be any issues on. So it just allows you more flexibility, whether it's that or not choosing cheap loads or just the overall workload. I really haven't spoke much about what my end goal is into getting into trucking, but one thing I will tell you is that when I do have things set up, I'm not planning on running myself to death. That's one thing I'm going to tell you. I'm not going to be running to make a truck payment. I'm not going to be running to make an insurance payment. I'm going to be running to do what I'm just going to be running to the amount that I need to do to handle my at-home business or my at-home lifestyle. And fortunately, I have a wife that's been on board with the same thing or the same long-term views as I have. I don't think there's a lot of wives that would be out there choosing to do the same thing. A lot of them are going to be out there trying to spend a bunch of money on, clothes and shoes and all this other kind of stuff. And my wife, has kind of been holding things down. We've put ourselves in a position where we have decent assets, rental properties paid off. So our monthly output is $1,300 a month. And I remember when I was 25 years old working in the car business, before I had this mentality, we used to brag about how much we used to have to spend, how much we would have to spend before we made $1 going to ourselves, meaning, it was cool at the time to have at the time I was probably renting an apartment, so it was cool to have a, $1,000 apartment to, pay and then, have a $400 car payment and then, have a bunch of credit cards, because that made us look cool to the, management, like, oh, these guys are valuable because they have to make all this much money. You know what? What's cool is not having to make that money. What's cool is not having to be stressed out about your money. What's cool is, in my business now, in mortgages, not having to be forced to feel like I need to do a loan or, you know, having nightmares at night about a loan closing. What's cool is not having to choose some cheap freight just to pay your bill. So anyway, listen, I'm not a trucker yet, and I don't claim to be. My channel's name is No Hippie Trucking and Transport Wannabe because that's what I want to be. But whether you're in trucking, mortgage banking, plumbing, whatever, one thing I can tell you, net worth is all about income in and income out and your assets. So like I said, I'm about to shut this video down. My next video is going to be where I come to you guys with 2 separate clients, and I'll pick them out. I'm not going to be able to get specific as far as what they do for a living and all that kind of stuff, just because some people may be able to know who I'm talking about if I mention that. But 2 different clients, 2 different socio-economical backgrounds, and we're going to take a look at which one is actually better off, the high income earner or let's say the middle income earner. Anyway, I do appreciate you guys for stopping by No Hippie Trucking and Transport Wannabe. I'm about 40 days away from getting into trucking school and starting this thing off. Comment, subscribe, and I'm out.